On the day of my coming-of-age ceremony, my father's comrade-in-arms pushed the photos of his adopted sons in front of me and asked me to choose a fiancé. I held the photo of the eldest son, Nathan, in my hands without hesitation. Everyone present looked at me in disbelief. After all, everyone knew that I had a deep affection for the second son, Brian. In my previous life, I chased Brian for 10 years and finally married him as I wished. He also became the heir of the Brian family because of this marriage. But 3 years after the marriage, my best friend got pregnant with his child. Both parents were furious and forced them to separate and asked my best friend to abort the child. From then on, Brian hated me to the core. Every night, he would bring someone who looked like his best friend home, and we had fun every night. I was so depressed by the stimulation that I fell seriously ill and died miserably. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to the night of choosing a fiancé. This time, I chose to fulfill the love of my best friend and her husband. But I didn't expect that Brian had also been reborn. Brian and a few others were waiting at my door early in the morning. "Ellie, you have been chasing after Brother Brian since you were a child. Now you finally get what you want, right? TSK. After all, you are the only daughter of the Ellie family. Is it necessary to rush for it?" Brian crossed his arms and looked at me with a sarcastic look. "You have made up your mind to rely on me, right? Although the elders of the two families have a verbal engagement, I advise you not to take it too seriously. If the conditions offered by your family cannot satisfy me, I may not marry you." His tone was cold and disgusted. This interest-first look was no different from his previous life. He never took my love seriously. I looked at him and said indifferently, "Brian, the Brian family has more than one adopted son, right?" As soon as I said this, his expression changed instantly, and the eyes of the people standing behind him began to be ambiguous. The elders of both sides have forged a friendship since the founding of the country and agreed that the next generation of both sides would enter into a marriage contract. However, the marriage contract of my parents' generation failed, so it naturally continued to our generation. The Brian family even said that whoever marries me will get the inheritance right of the family. After a moment of silence, Brian chuckled. "Ellie, do you think I will believe you if you provoke me with such words?" The others also laughed after they came to their senses. "Brother Brian, the company will surely flourish in your hands in the future. Don't forget us when the time comes." Brian was enjoying their compliments proudly. After a while, he glanced at me slowly. "You have licked me for 10 years, and no one dares to want you except me. However, I have to say some ugly words in advance." He waved his hand to let others leave before speaking loudly. "In order to avoid repeating the same mistakes, I can marry you, but I only have Diana in my heart. As long as you don't interfere with us, I can give you the dignity of being my wife." Hearing this, my eyes widened in surprise. In his previous life, he disguised himself very well and never said such words. Could it be that he was also reborn? I was hesitating whether to continue testing when a petite figure appeared in front of us. "Ellie, why are you standing here stupidly with Brother Brian?" Diana called me, but her eyes were fixed on Brian. Brian's eyes instantly became tender. He turned around and suddenly grabbed Diana's hand and said to her in a gentle tone that I had never heard before, "Diana, why did you come here?" Diana was stunned for a moment, then raised her hand and held Brian's hand tighter. The coming-of-age ceremony was coming to an end, and almost all the guests had left before Brian and Diana appeared in front of everyone again. Brian changed into a high-end suit, and Diana also changed into a skirt. The atmosphere between the two was extremely ambiguous. If it was me in the past, I would definitely rush up to question him in anger. But such scenes have happened countless times in my previous life. My heart has long been numb. I raised my head and drank the wine in my hand and turned to leave. Brian saw the indifferent expression on my face and slowly frowned. It was the first time he took the initiative to call me. "Ellie, what are you doing?" "I am your fiancé, and Diana is your best friend. How could you leave without saying hello? Have you lost your manners? Apologize to Diana and me quickly, or you won't get your birthday present this year." Brian was holding a ring box in his hand. Diana on the side took the ring box and shook it in front of me proudly. "Ellie, this was specially customized for you by Brother Brian. He put a lot of thought into it." My eyes followed the box, and I naturally saw the customized ring on Diana's ring finger. It was of the same brand as the box in her hand. I pulled the corner of my mouth and said sarcastically, "It took a lot of thought." "I think the customized ring on your hand took more thought." Diana suppressed the upward corner of her mouth and pretended to be innocent. "How could it be? This is just a gift from Brother Brian when he bought you a gift." Diana opened the ring box and threw it to me. I didn't reach out, so the box and a silver necklace fell to the ground together. Brian frowned and said in a sharp voice, "Ellie, why are you like a piece of wood? Didn't you see that the gift I gave you fell? Pick it up quickly." Hearing this, I laughed at myself. How dare you call the necklace given as a gift when buying a ring a gift? Diana picked up the necklace distressfully and looked at me with a reproachful face. "This is Brother Brian's thoughtfulness." Thoughtful things. Haven't I received enough thoughtful things in the past? Since I can remember, I would receive a bunch of junk every birthday, leaves picked by Brian, rag dolls he didn't want, paper balls rolled up when he was upset. He would give me whatever he had at hand, but I still treated them as treasures at that time and carefully treasured each one of them. In the previous life, after we got married, I showed them to him like offering treasures, but all I got in return was his ruthless ridicule. "Ellie, you are the reincarnation of a garbage can, right? You pick up all the junk that is thrown away. Isn't it disgusting?" Hearing these words, I just felt my heart broken. But Brian didn't think he was being too much. He even publicized the matter. From then on, everyone in the circle looked at me with hidden sarcasm. Thinking of the situation in my previous life where I was pointed at by others, my mood instantly turned from sunny to cloudy. I threw the necklace on the table and prepared to leave, but Brian opened his hands and glared at me. "Ellie, how dare you throw away the gift I gave you? Pick up the necklace and wipe it clean now, otherwise our engagement will be cancelled. By then, even if you kneel down and beg me for 3 days and 3 nights, I may not agree to marry you." I lowered my eyes and looked at Brian, gently pulling the corner of my mouth. "Brian, I didn't plan to marry you." The air froze instantly. Everyone's eyes wandered between Brian and me. Brian was stunned for a moment, then sneered again. "Ellie, everyone knows that you're a dog who's licked me for 10 years. How could you marry someone else?" I was about to retort that I was going to marry Nathan, but when the words came to my lips, I suddenly remembered what Uncle Brian said. "I don't know why you suddenly changed your mind and chose Nathan, but Nathan is about to have an operation. Don't announce this matter for now, so as not to disturb his recovery." I subconsciously looked at Nathan sitting in a wheelchair in the distance. He was pale and thin, as if he could be blown away by a gust of wind. He really couldn't be disturbed. I hadn't had much contact with Nathan, but I still remembered his ending in my previous life. Not long after Brian and I got married, Nathan died alone in a nursing home. Since I want to marry him in this life, he must live healthily. Nathan looked at me with a trace of loss in his eyes. I smiled comfortingly and said, "You'll know when the time comes," then turned and left. The banquet was over. Diana followed closely behind me. She stretched out her hand, and the silver ring reflected colorful light. "Ellie, you're just hard-mouthed. Brother Yenze said that although he will marry you, I am his wife in his heart. He will only buy a ring for me in this life." In everyone's eyes, Diana was a well-behaved, sweet-mouthed, and lovable child. Only I knew her true side. In my previous life, she found me with a pregnancy test report and proudly announced she was pregnant with my husband's child. I ran to question Brian, but all I got was his indifferent smile. I was so angry I went crazy and reported the matter to both families. My parents were furious and forced Diana's family to send her abroad and arranged a marriage for her. Later, she lived happily with a rich young master, while I endured Brian's hatred and died miserably. So after being reborn, I decided to facilitate their marriage. I wanted to see if they truly loved each other that deeply. Thinking of this, I suddenly patted Diana's shoulder. "No need to go through so much trouble. Diana, if you want to marry him, I can give him to you. If you get married, I'll definitely give you a big red envelope and wish you a long and happy life together." Diana was stunned for a moment, then sneered. "Ellie, don't say one thing in front of me and another behind my back. I know you. You'll never give up pestering Brother Yenze. But just give up. He only loves me." I nodded indifferently and went home first. Since I had decided to marry Nathan, I should prepare some gifts for him before the engagement. For 3 consecutive days, I focused on preparing the gifts, and Diana didn't go home at all. During those 3 days, she posted on her social media every 2 hours. The latest one showed Brian Yenze wearing an apron and frying steak in the kitchen. Just as I was about to turn off my phone, a message from Diana popped up. "Ellie, you haven't tasted Brother Yenze's cooking yet, right?" That sentence instantly brought back the image of catching the 2 of them in bed in my past life, and my stomach turned with nausea. I suppressed the urge to vomit and replied with one word, "Get lost," then blocked her. Then Brian called me. "Ellie, are you sick? Diana is your best friend. She just said something wrong. Why did you block her? Do you know how sad she is now? Hurry up and come to my house to apologize." Brian's furious voice exploded in my ears, and I suddenly smiled. "Okay, I'll go to Brian's house now, but not to apologize. I am going to announce my engagement with Nathan." My parents went to Brian's house first. I arrived after sorting out Nathan's gifts. Brian and Diana stood side by side at the door, and when they saw me, they sneered. "Ellie, I thought you were so patient." Diana just sent a message. "It's fine that you blocked her, but you even teamed up with your parents to force a marriage?" As soon as he finished speaking, he kicked me hard in the knee. Caught off guard, I fell to the ground. Kowtow to Diana and admit your mistake, or don't blame me for ruining the place today. Diana bent down and stared at me, pretending to be embarrassed. "Ellie, don't blame Brother Yenze. He's just speaking up for me." I gritted my teeth and glared at Diana. She showed a pitiful puppy-like look at just the right moment, which made Brian Yenze even more distressed. He stepped forward and slapped me across the face. 5 fingerprints immediately appeared on my cheek. My eyes turned bloodshot. I stood up abruptly and shouted, "Brian Yenze, Diana, are you two crazy? I said I don't want to marry you." Brian sneered. "Ellie, why are you pretending? Today, both families will announce our engagement. Be sensible and apologize quickly, or you'll never step foot in the Brian family again." My chest heaved with rage. I didn't want to tangle with them anymore. Just as I was about to walk away, both families appeared at the corner. Uncle Brian frowned and looked at Brian Yenze. "Yenze, what are you doing at the door again?" Nathan followed them slowly. He wasn't in a wheelchair, and his complexion looked a little better than a few days ago. When he saw my disheveled appearance, his eyes filled with worry. "What's the matter?" Meeting his concerned gaze, my heart warmed. "It's okay. How did you come out?" A smile appeared on his face. "I saw you hadn't come in." Brian sneered. "What does her coming in or not have to do with you? Why do you care so much?" Everyone was stunned, but Brian didn't notice. He quickly squeezed between Nathan and me, smiled at Nathan falsely, and then threatened me in a low voice. "Forget it today. If I find out you bully Diana again after the engagement, I'll make you pay." At that moment, Brian inexplicably showed an unprecedented possessiveness, but I knew he was only trying to protect the heir position he was about to get. Uncle Brian sighed and said solemnly, "The person who is engaged to Ellie is the heir of my Brian family. Today is a good day to conclude the marriage contract." Brian lowered his head and adjusted his clothes, then raised the corner of his mouth and prepared to take my arm, but the next moment, his confident expression froze on his face. Uncle Brian took Nathan's and my hands and overlapped them. Nathan smiled. He was in high spirits, and there was no trace of the person who had once lingered on the sickbed. "Ellie, are you ready to spend the rest of your life with me?" Brian was stunned. His eyes widened in disbelief, and his voice was sharp. "What are you talking about?" The Brian brothers who came immediately were also confused. What was going on? Why did the eldest brother say that he wanted to spend his life with Ellie? He must have made a mistake. Ellie likes Brother Brian so much. How could she be engaged to the eldest brother? When Brian saw that no one spoke, he quickly turned his attention to the parents of both parties. "Mom, Dad, Uncle, Aunt, please say something." All his actions today were extremely out of line. Uncle Brian suppressed his anger and said, "Brian, your mother and I are not old enough to be confused. How could we make a mistake about the protagonist today?" My parents also nodded with grim expressions. Dong Bai is the fiancé chosen by Ellie at the birthday party. Brian's fingers hanging by his side, suddenly trembled a little, and he clenched them into fists unconsciously. His emotions were a little out of control, and he couldn't wait to cast an anxious look at me. Ellie, why did you choose Big Brother as your fiancé? You must have made a mistake, right? It doesn't matter. It's not too late now. As long as you are willing to correct your mistake, I am still willing to marry you. He still looked like he didn't understand what he was saying. I frowned slightly and took Nathan's hand under the gaze of everyone. I chose Brother Nathan, and this choice will never change. Nathan stared at our interlocked hands in surprise. His eyes gradually warmed up, and then he shook hands firmly. Brian also saw this scene clearly. Endless anger surged in his pupils. Ellie, what are you doing? Everyone in the city knows that you love me deeply. Besides, Nathan won't live long. Why did you choose him? I can ignore this farce today. Let him go, and we will get engaged. His eyes were red, and he rushed up to tear off Nathan and my hands. Nathan was already weak, and Brian's ferocious appearance was even more frightening. He was so pale that his face turned 3 points paler. I was afraid that he would be hurt, so I immediately stepped forward to protect him. The anger on Uncle Brian's face finally couldn't be suppressed. He shouted angrily, "Take Brian away from me. What a disgrace." Everyone in the Brian family finally came to their senses at this moment. The Brian brothers surrounded Brian and hurriedly pulled him down. 2 fists are no match for 4 hands, but Brian was still screaming my name while being pulled down. Ellie, you were just angry for a moment, right? I apologize to you. I am willing to marry you. In return, he got Uncle Brian's cold voice. Lock him up. The noise gradually disappeared. The farce finally came to an end. I patted Nathan's shoulder soothingly and comforted him softly. It's okay. Uncle Brian saw this scene, and his originally cold expression gradually warmed up. He no longer waited and took off the ring on his thumb, then carefully pushed it onto Nathan's thumb. Nathan, you are not in good health, but Dad understands your talents. When you get better, with Ellie's help, the Brian family will definitely be able to move to a higher level. Dad wishes you a happy and carefree future. That ring is the identity symbol of the heir to the Brian family. I know that from this moment on, the future of the Brian family depends on Nathan and me. Today I am only announcing the news that Nathan and I are about to get engaged. The actual engagement party will be arranged in a week. There are many things to prepare for the engagement. I will do everything I can myself. Nathan is not in good health. He always looks distressed when he sees me busy. There are planners to do these things. Why do you have to make yourself so tired? His tone is always gentle. I can't help but think of the last time I saw him in my previous life. At that time, I was still immersed in the false happiness brought to me by Brian. At a family dinner, Nathan returned to the Brian family. He sat quietly in a corner, watching Brian and me get close with calm eyes. From beginning to end, he never looked away. At that time, I thought he was strange and rude, but I never saw him again after that day. I heard that he refused surgery and died alone in the night in a sanatorium. The suicide note he left behind was full of hope for my happiness. I didn't understand at the time. I just thought that he hoped everyone would be happy at the end of his life. But after rebirth, I felt something was wrong in my heart. So, I chose him to be my fiancé. I turned my head and looked at him, chuckled. It only happens once in a lifetime, so we have to do it to perfection. After we are engaged, you can have the surgery with peace of mind. In this life, I must watch you finish the surgery. No matter what, I can't let you die alone. Nathan smiled and nodded, his eyes full of longing for recovery. I will definitely stay with you in good health for the rest of my life. The engagement banquet was held as scheduled. Relatives and friends entered with invitations in hand. Both parents came on stage at the same time to announce the positions of the 2 heirs. Nathan and I were socializing with glasses of wine. On the way, I heard a lot of people whispering. They said that I have loved Brian for 10 years, and now I must be acting just to piss Brian off. They also said that Nathan is destined to die early. Even if we are engaged, he may not live to get married. When he dies, I will still choose Brian. I couldn't help but frown when I heard these words. Nathan pulled the corner of his mouth lightly and whispered to comfort me. Don't be angry. They are also telling the truth. Hearing this, I turned my head to look at him and bumped into his sorrowful eyes unexpectedly. Before I could deny it, Brian walked into the venue slowly in a high-end suit. He was so dazzling that he stole the show, as if he was the protagonist of the engagement party. The triangle relationship was the most suspicious, not to mention his appearance like this. The discussion of the crowd seemed to be several hundred decibels louder. Uncle Brian's expression suddenly became ugly. "Didn't I tell you to lock him up at home? Who let him in?" As soon as the voice fell, the people of the Brian family rushed to Brian and wanted to take him away. Brian twisted his body to avoid them, shouting as he dodged, "Why can't I come? Dad, I should be the one engaged to Ellie. We have liked each other for 10 years. Why should I give her to my eldest brother? We like each other." Uncle Brian laughed in anger.
He looked at me.
"Ellie, tell me, do you like each other?" I had already told the elders of the Brian family about the relationship between Brian and Diana. What Brian said now was a slap in his own face. I pulled the corner of my mouth. "Uncle Brian, I was ignorant when I was a child, and I did like to follow behind Brother Brian, but it's not love. We were just childhood playmates. The one who really loved Brother Yenze was my best friend Diana." After saying that, I searched for Diana's figure in the crowd and called her. "Diana, come here." Diana's face turned green. She hesitated for a while, and seeing that everyone's eyes were on her and refused to move away, she had to grit her teeth and walk into the center of the crowd. "Ellie, I like Brother Yenze, but Brother Yenze has always loved you." Her voice revealed determination, as if the facts were just as she said.
I was a little surprised.
According to her previous style of doing things, she should have trembled a long time ago and then proudly admitted it. Unexpectedly, she was so calm this time. Brian, on the side, raised his head and pretended to be affectionate. "Ellie, look, Diana knows that I like you, so don't be angry with me, okay? After we get engaged, I will treat you well." I looked at him like that and felt disgusted. But before I could refute, Nathan stood in front of me first. "Brian," I said, "Ellie is my fiancée. Today is our engagement banquet. Stop being unreasonable." Brian's fierce eyes were fixed on Nathan's face. "You sick jerk. You have to find a sense of existence at this time, right? Ellie just saw that you were dying, so she made your dream come true. What do you take it seriously for? She only loves me."
Bah!
A loud slap echoed throughout the banquet hall. Uncle Brian's face turned red with anger. He gritted his teeth and said, "You evil creature, get out of here and go home right now. From today on, you don't have to go to the company. I will also freeze your card. When you learn to respect your big brother, you can come out again." Brian covered his face in disbelief. "Dad, how could you do this to me? Ellie only likes Mesh, only loves me." I turned my head away in disgust. When I turned around, I met Nathan's eyes, which were as calm as a pool of stagnant water. Brian was put in solitary confinement. Nathan and I's engagement ceremony was successfully completed. The next thing to prepare for was a surgery, but I didn't know why I had been uneasy. Nathan's stagnant eyes scared me that day. I wanted to explore, but he evaded me again and again. Finally, the night before the operation, I received a call from Uncle Brian.
"Ellie,
Come and see Nathan." He refused to have the operation. My fingertips instantly became cold. I ran and crawled to my feet, opened the car door as fast as I could, and rushed to the hospital. The doctors at the private hospital had already been fully prepared for tomorrow's operation. But why did Nathan suddenly refuse to do it? Along the way, the tragic scene of his death in his previous life kept appearing in my mind. Cold sweat kept breaking out all over my body. It only took me 20 minutes to get to the hospital. When Uncle Brian saw me, the sadness on his face was so strong that it could not be dissolved. He patted my shoulder with a choked voice. "I can't persuade him. Only you can try." After that, he turned and left the ward. I took a breath and walked in front of Nathan. Why didn't he want to have the operation? Nathan's eyes were complicated. After a long time, he spoke. "Is it important?" I answered sternly. "Why can't you live well if you can? Nathan, you have been hovering on the edge of life and death since you were a child. Why do you give up the chance to get better? If I get better, our engagement will continue, and you will be able to be with the person you truly love." He lowered his eyes. His voice was dead silent. I know you've liked Yanzei for many years. I almost choked when I heard this. I sat down and calmed down for a long time before I could calmly ask, I have liked him for many years, but I don't like him now. Is that okay? Nathan's eyes were puzzled, as if asking me why. I took out my phone and showed him the photos of Brian, Yanzei, and Diana that I had saved in advance. I loved someone and gave my all, but this person is not worthy of my Loviso. I just let go. Brother Nathan, you may not believe it when I talk about it. I experienced a complete life in my dream. We also died alone and sick. After waking up, I had only one thought: I want you and me to live well and live together. I held his hand and trembled a little. He seemed a little unbelieving. Are you really ready to marry me? I took out the ring that I had prepared long ago and solemnly put it on his ring finger. Marry me. We have different paths, but the same destination. We should have been together for a lifetime. Promise me that you will have surgery tomorrow and don't give up your life, okay? Nathan's hand pinched my fingers. The temperature of his palm was moist and warm. He spoke softly. Okay. We will not die alone. I nodded, feeling relieved. He was going to have an operation the next day, so he was inevitably nervous. I stayed with Nathan all night. The next morning, all the Ellie family members and the Brian family members arrived. They watched Nathan being pushed into the operating room. The operation lasted for more than 10 hours. The elders were nervous and could not bear it, so they had to go back to rest. But I was guarding the door of the operating room because Nathan said that he wanted to see me when he opened his eyes. But before Nathan came, Diana came first. Ellie, are you cheap? You can act to this extent just to piss off Brother Brian. What a pity. Brother Brian doesn't even bother to pay attention to you. When this sickly guy really marries you, I want to see how you end up. Her expression was distorted with pride, as if getting Brian's love was a great thing. I pulled the corners of my mouth and didn't bother to pay attention to her. But things happened one after another. Brian, who hadn't been seen for a long time, appeared again. Brother Brian. Diana's eyes flashed with a glimmer of surprise. Brother Brian, you haven't looked for me for a long time. I missed you so much. How did you know I would come to the hospital today? She could not wait to greet him. Brian had a cold face and pushed her away with disgust. Who came to see you? I came to see Ellie. He ran to me in 2 steps and took out a customized diamond ring like offering a treasure. Ellie, it is not certain whether Nathan can get off the operating table safely. Marry me, okay? My face turned cold instantly. You say another word. Brian choked and quickly changed his words. I said the wrong thing, but this is also the fact. Ellie, I am your true love. Diana on the side reached out and grabbed Brian with a face full of blame. Brother Brian, didn't you say that you only bought the ring for me? How could you give her the ring? Brian pushed her away impatiently. Diana, can you stop making trouble? My wife can only be Ellie. I only treat you as a sister. He changed his face very quickly. I admire him a little. The corners of Diana's eyes turned red instantly and her voice choked. You cooked for me, hugged me, and said that you only loved me in this life. Were they all fake? Brother Brian, I know you want the position of heir to the Brian family, and I can help you with it. Diana, are you cheap? Brian's voice was sharp. He used the most unpleasant words to insult Diana, whom he once cherished just like he insulted me in the past. Who do you think you are? I was only willing to play with you because you are young. You're not even half as good as Ellie. I laughed sarcastically when I heard this. When he was powerless, he thought of me. When he was powerful, he only had younger and fresher flesh in his eyes. This man is unprecedentedly disgusting. You have no ability at all. At most, you can rely on your parents to enjoy a lifetime of happiness. How can you compare with Ellie? Diana's face turned pale instantly. Her parents did not have such high hopes for her. They just wanted to spoil her into a girl who enjoyed leisure and happiness. Because she was my only best friend, I also took care of her in every way. I didn't expect that my indulgence would distort her to this extent. Brother Brian, don't be like this. I will learn. I can definitely do better than Ellie. Brian said contemptuously. What are you learning? You can't even read stocks at this age. Diana, just play around. Don't let your imagination run wild. Their quarrel made me upset. I was just about to call the security guard when Brian reached out and grabbed me. I really know I was wrong, Ellie. From now on, Diana is my sister. I will no longer have anything to do with her. Can you forgive me? I pulled my hand back indifferently. Even if you have any involvement with her, it has nothing to do with me. I am Nathan's fiancé. We will get married when he recovers. Brian, please don't bother me again. I called the security booth. Not long after, the security guards rushed up and drove Brian and Diana away. Brian still didn't give up. I will definitely make you change your mind. I closed my eyes and turned a deaf ear to them, quietly waiting for the door of the operating room to open. 3 hours later, the lights in the operating room went out. The doctor in a white coat walked out exhausted. The operation was successful. He will stay in the ICU for a few days for observation. After he is out of the critical period, he can be transferred to the general ward. I breathed a sigh of relief. Only then did I realize that I had been overwhelmed by fear. I followed the mobile bed step by step. I changed into protective clothing and sat beside the bed waiting. I don't know how long it took before Nathan slowly opened his eyes. The moment I looked into his eyes, my tears instantly fell. What are you crying for? I sniffed, a little scared. Brother Nathan, if you really had an accident, I wouldn't want to live anymore. Love comes suddenly, and it's unforgettable when you're about to lose it. Nathan blinked, not understanding why I suddenly said that. I gently held his hand and said softly, I like you so much. We can be together forever in the future. He was stunned for a moment, and his tears flowed even more violently, but he was too weak to say too much. But I could see the love hidden in his eyes. Ellie, go to my room. I nodded and agreed. After coaxing him to sleep, I didn't even have time to change my clothes and went straight to Brian's house. Most of the Brian family members were still in the hospital. I strode into Nathan's room. I had never been here before, but here I saw all the photos of me from childhood to adulthood. For some of the photos, I don't even remember when they were taken or who took them, but the surging love was fully revealed at this moment. Why did he refuse the operation in his previous life, and why did he want to refuse the operation in this life? At this moment, I had the answers. Seeing me happy was the most important thing in his life. In his previous life, he thought I had found happiness, so he left alone. In this life, he wants to make me happy again and wants to repeat the same mistake. I collapsed on his bed, angry and upset, muttering, "Fool." I had a sound sleep in Nathan's room. When I woke up, it was getting dark. I was just about to go to the hospital when Brian, who came from the door, stretched out his hand to stop me and said, "You can't marry Nathan." I raised my eyebrows and sneered. "Why?" "Because you are my wife. In your previous life, you married me. We had a happy and perfect marriage. We lived in harmony and were a couple of gods that the whole city envied." Brian gambled everything and told me the secret that he had also been reborn, but I just thought it was ridiculous. We had a happy and perfect marriage. We were a couple of gods? You mean my best friend was pregnant with my husband's child? You two also locked me in the attic and made me sick and dying. Brian was stunned for a moment, and the color on his face drained away. He opened his mouth. You're also reborn. You are reborn, so in this life you chose Nathan. He suddenly laughed. I should have thought of it earlier. I should have thought of it earlier. It doesn't matter. If I can do it again once, I can do it again a second time. Next time, I will definitely not give you the chance to choose Nathan. He seemed to be crazy at this moment, turned around, and rushed out of Brian's house without hesitation. His laughter became smaller and smaller. I gently stroked my arm covered with goosebumps, turned, and left. Nathan hadn't woken up yet. Both parents were waiting in the hospital. Seeing my figure, my parents came up first. Diana's family spoiled her. We have contacted her parents and decided to send her to study abroad. Only by letting her leave here can we change her bad habits. I nodded indifferently. Uncle Brian and Aunt Brian also came over. Brian, we will also look after it. You and Nathan just live your own lives in the future. When I mentioned Nathan, a trace of warmth appeared in my eyes, and I nodded in agreement. The next few days, I wandered between home and the hospital. Nathan was out of danger and had been transferred to the general ward. I gently squeezed his hand, squinted my eyes, and asked, "Brother Nathan, why didn't you tell me about your secret crush? You are so much better than Brian. If I had known earlier, I would definitely not have followed him around for 10 years. When talking about the past, Nathan's eyes dimmed. I couldn't bear to see his expression, so I quickly leaned over and kissed him. Let's not mention it anymore. We won't mention him in the future. Nathan nodded heavily. On the day of discharge from the hospital, Brian appeared again, but this time he didn't stop in front of me. Instead stood on the side of the road. He looked at me and laughed almost crazily. Ellie, let's see you in the next life. Then he rushed into the traffic without hesitation. I quickly took Nathan in the car and left. Later, I heard from Brian's family that Brian was out of danger, but he could only rely on a ventilator to maintain his life. He became a vegetable with no sadness or joy. But these have nothing to do with me. Now I have someone by my side who can make me love again without hesitation.